Hey everyone, welcome back to BlileDev. Today I'm going to show you how to do some web scraping with Python given a website URL. And so the first thing we want to make sure that we do with the website is that we're going to attach to the end of the URL robots.txt. What this is going to do is show you if this website has given you permission and you're actually allowed to scrape from their website. And so what we're going to be using is we're going to be using this HTML that you can find in the page source. And I'm going to show you guys how to access this HTML as well as how to parse it and get the information you want. So we're going to start out first by importing a couple of libraries. The first one, we're going to use lxml, and this is the main library that we're going to be using for parsing the HTML. We're going to be importing the request library, which we're going to use to actually grab the data from that web page. And we're also going to be using string IO from the IO library, which is also for purposes of grabbing stuff from the web page. So I make this response object, and I'm going to do is request.get, and I'm going to copy in the URL of my web page, and this is going to grab the HTML for me. However, we need to first format it in a proper way. And so we're also going to initialize a variable called parser. We say equal to etree, which is what we imported above, and that equals etree.html parser. Then what we're going to do is this is going to be the actual lxml node that we're going to be utilizing. And so we're going to say etree.parse, and then we're going to utilize string IO and pass in a string version of response.content. And then we're going to also pass in the parser variable. And so I'm going to print this out for you so you can see kind of what that tree object looks like. And if you did it properly, you should get this result of this element tree object. And so it's also important, a common mistake is to only pass in response.context. Sometimes people don't pass it in as a string. If we remove the string piece of it, it's going to get upset. And you're going to see here, it's going to break. And it's going to want to make sure that we say that that response.content is in string form. And so it's Python's equivalent of toString if you're familiar with JavaScript. And so what we're going to do is make sure that's clean. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to extract the page title next. And so the way we're going to do this is I'm going to say, well, let's first go look at the HTML. And so I want to get out that title right there. So there's a title tag. And so I'm going to say etree dot xpath, and I'm going to pass in a string representation. And this is the way that lxml accesses that. And so I'm going to say title slash text and make sure I put 2 dashes in the front. And this is basically going to tell it, get the title tag and give me the text inside that title tag. And you see in the bottom that it printed it out. And it's also important to note here that it will return an array object for each one. And the reason why is because it's going to actually return all instances where it finds a title tag. And so I'm going to show you the same thing with p tag. And so basically anywhere in the project there's a p tag, it's going to basically attach it to this array. There we go. There's an array of all the different p tags. Okay. Moving on, I'm going to show you a little bit more complex, not super complex, but we'll look around and we'll see if we can find some kind of value to show off the different capabilities of this LXML library. And so let's go look at here. Let's see if we can find something worth looking at. Maybe this image, actually probably not. Let's look for something else. And what you can do is sometimes what you can do is you can go to the page you're looking to parse. You can either inspect it and see where in the HTML it's located, or you can actually copy any words that you're looking for and find them in the page source. And then you can, using this method that I'm going to show you how to do here in a second, you can then navigate to and find that information and parse it, or scrape it, I should say. Okay, this looks good. So we have this header2 class tag, and it's called class dark, and we have that variable pop. Let's see if we can pull out the word ads. I think that would be a good one to show. It's got a bunch of nested tags in here. And it's important that I might need to actually include all the nested tags because otherwise um, it could print out all instances of H2. And so what I'm going to do is I paste it in here. That way I can see it and reference it as I write this out. So I'm going to say H2 and then put brackets. And the bracket signifies I want to access a variable within the tag itself. And so I'm going to say at class equals dark. And then I'm going to grab, let's see, after dark, we have a strong tag, we have a span, it's inside the span, so let's try that. And say class equals orange, and then say slash text. And hopefully this should give us ads. Let's see here. Let's print out that value and see what we've got. Okay, so we have some issues there. It didn't print out anything. So I'm missing something here. So let's get rid of that span. Okay, so it printed out everything within the H2, but it didn't print out the first part, which is within the strong tag. So that probably means that I need to include the strong tag in my tree. There we go, I've got pop, but I don't want pop, I still want ads. And so there's one more thing missing, which is after the strong tag, we then have a span tag. And the span tag has a class of orange. So we're going to say at class equals orange. And you can use this method for accessing different properties and identifying, hey, when you see this tag with this class, this property, this whatever, I want you to follow that path and I want you to return that value. And there we go. And so that's how you can kind of parse through and navigate through and scrape out the information that you want to from the HTML. Now it may seem kind of complex and pretty tedious to get just a simple value, but most web pages have a pretty consistent pattern to them, tables, data, and if you can write a script that can iterate through these tables and iterate through this data, it actually becomes very useful. I'm just showing with a random line, for example, on how to access it, but it's pretty useful. And so I hope that you guys found this useful. If you did, click the like button. It would greatly help me out. And I hope to see you guys soon.